The Contrarian Canon, Part 1, and my word of the year for 2026. Today's weather was one of those throw another log on the fire kind of days, and today's episode is one of those gotta bookmark this kind of episodes. Let me explain. So in last week's issue of the Digital Contrarian, issue number 79, the tension between resistance and productive procrastination, I wrote that with my forthcoming book, Return to Real, the book has been a project I've found myself procrastinating on for the last few months, and one which I had not made much tangible progress on since finishing the first draft of the manuscript earlier this year. Now, the reality is that there was something that had me blocked. You see, a few months ago, I came to the realization that the book that I was trying to write with Return to Real is actually two books. I was struggling to squeeze everything into a single title. But really, there is a two-book arc. And while I already have much of my material for book 2, I was feeling blocked because I didn't have sufficient clarity on how a few key components on how to connect Return to Real with book number 2 was going to work. However, over the last week, with a few uninterrupted days of deep thinking time, I am very happy to report that I now do have clarity, and I'm ready to rock and roll. But what's also become abundantly clear is this. In order to get the final version of the Return to Real manuscript over the finish line in time for my spring 2026 release, realistically, I need to devote 100% of my writing energy for the next month at least toward finishing this darn book. So for the next few weeks, what I've decided to do is this. With a little help from ChatGPT, I've pulled some of the most powerful but overlooked key ideas and concepts and strategies and tactics that I've written about over the last year, what I consider to be part of the Contrarian Canon. And I'm going to give you a few of these each week for the next few weeks to give you an opportunity to catch up on some of the gems that you might have missed. I encourage you to pick one to double click into today, maybe one that you missed or that based on where you are right now feels relevant to you in this moment. And we'll be sure to include links to each of the full issues with the description of this episode. So, without further delay, here are 5 in no particular order, beginning with number 1. How to optimize your business around things in life that don't change. This one's from issue number 37. If the 5-year period you're living in right now were a chapter in your book, what would be the title of that chapter? In this issue, we begin with a sobering reminder that nothing dominant is permanent, even marketing platforms that at one time felt inevitable. This serves as the doorway into a contrarian strategic question that's worth asking yourself, which is, instead of obsessing over what's changing in the world, in 2026, what if you anchor your business around what doesn't change? Now, what you'll get if you double-click is a practical way to distinguish durable anchors, things like human desires, skills that don't expire, timeless principles, from fragile tactics, things like tools and technology and platforms and labels, to redesign your strategy accordingly. Again, we'll put a link to this issue in the description of this episode, which takes us to number 2. How to achieve the optimal effort to reward ratio with your products, which is pulled from issue number 35. In this one, we talk about the fact that difficulty is the currency of meaning, which is why the struggle is so often the solution. What does this mean exactly? Well, in this issue, we challenge the modern assumption that convenience automatically equals happiness. We contrast two worlds, one optimized for hyper-efficiency, things like delivered food, instant gratification, cheap dopamine, and one optimized for effort-driven satisfaction, growing food, making things, doing the work. And then we walk through why the second world reliably feels better and the real business opportunity that this presents. What you'll get if you double-click into this issue is a biology-backed explanation for why easy is so often something that feels empty, and a compelling lens for building a life and business around earned reward instead of cheap stimulation. Which takes us to number 3. How to become anti-fragile and build your business for what's coming. This one's from issue number 34. This one we talk about the fact that the thing you're most afraid of doing in this moment is often the thing that you most need to do. In this issue, we explore the core move of shifting from merely being resilient, i.e. withstanding shocks, to becoming anti-fragile, i.e. getting stronger because of those shocks. And then thinking about how to position yourself so that disruption becomes an advantage and not a threat, particularly relevant for what's coming with AI in 2026 and beyond. What you'll get if you double-click into this issue is a grounded way to think about adversity, plus a strategic perspective on how to benefit from volatility rather than just endure it. Once again, we'll include a link to this issue with the description of this episode. Which takes us to number 4, how to determine your pricing by using advanced pricing psychology and strategy. This one's from issue number 32. Price is never evaluated in a vacuum. Price is only ever evaluated relative to a point of comparison. In this issue, we do a deep practical teardown of pricing, not pricing tips, but pricing as psychology, narrative, and decision design. We walk through a real pricing grid, one that I built for a private client, and show why most good, better, best menus are fine, but still leave money and clarity on the table. We also surface a subtle goal most people miss. Your pricing should reduce cognitive load and guide buyers to the best choice for them, not just for you. What you'll get if you double-click into this issue is a concrete case study and principles you can immediately apply to your own offers to increase clarity, conversion, and perceived value without resorting to gimmicks. Which takes us to number 5, how to cultivate influence by over-indexing around the right megatrends. This one's from issue number 31. You need to be willing to make unpopular moves that much of the world disagrees with if you want a chance at generating outsized returns in your business. In this issue, we explore an antidote to shallow growth advice. We take the concept of over-indexing from investing and translate it into a strategic lens for business. Extraordinary outcomes usually require going deeper than most people are willing to go, but the danger is doing that unconsciously and creating blind spots. The really useful shift is pairing over-indexing with megatrends, waves with long-term inevitability, and then layering contrarian thinking on top. Because when an idea is already a consensus, the upside is often already baked in, whether you're investing or building a market position. So what you'll get if you double-click into this issue is a framework for choosing what to intentionally over-index on and what not to, and how to find contrarian angles inside megatrends where the opportunity is asymmetric. Again, I've made sure that we include links to each of these 5 issues in the description of this episode. So my question to you is this: which are you going to double-click into today? Go ahead, pick the one that most intrigues you at this moment. I have a feeling that you're going to walk away with at least one non-obvious new idea or insight, and perhaps one that might just help shape your entire next year. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that for now. Again, I'm going to sign off here for our last episode of 2025. So go ahead, have a great rest of your year. Remember to hug the ones that you love, and I'll see you again next year. I wish you all my best. Take care and talk soon. Oh, wait, I almost forgot one last thing. My word of the year for 2026. So I don't know about you, but I always like to go into the new year with a word that sets my intention for the year. In 2024, my word was reconnection. In 2025, my word was discovery. In 2026, my word is flywheel. Now, there are layers to what that word represents, which I'll unpack for you at a later date. But for now, more importantly, I'm curious. Do you have a word yet for 2026? If you do have a word, once you finish with today's episode and you've double-clicked into one of the issues above, take a moment to leave a comment and let me know your word of the year for 2026. I would love to hear from you. Okay, take care, talk soon, and I'll see you in the next episode.